As we all know, the elections are coming and there's a lot of information in the air. Today, I'm gonna focus on specifically what we should expect on our ballots. What's up, fam? I'm Taz, and this is another episode of Security, Privacy, and a lot of other bullshit. This year, surprisingly enough, we are voting on data privacy laws, and specific to the states of California, Michigan, and Massachusetts. For today's purposes, I'm going to focus on California and Michigan. So let's start with Cali. Many of you may or may not know that Cali has probably one of the most comprehensive data protection laws that exist today. It's called the CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act, and it's basically a right to our data and the protection of our data. If you're a California resident, you have the right to ask for access to your data, request all of your information. You have the right to request your information be deleted. You can also opt in or out of your data being collected. And in many cases, there's option for reparations, but they're specific, and we're not gonna focus on CCPA today. I'm gonna focus on Proposition 24 that you'll find on your ballots this year. It's a 52-page proposition that is summarized on your ballots in a couple of paragraphs. And it misses a few key points, especially according to privacy advocates.
Proposition 24 is meant to keep businesses out of your digital data and to increase consumer privacy, but it has a surprising list of opponents. The initiative gives consumers the opportunity to opt out of data sharing. A San Francisco real estate developer is behind this initiative, saying it goes further than the 2018 state law. The legislature passed the California Consumer Privacy Act 2 years ago. It gives consumers the right to find out what personal data companies are collecting, to opt out of having that data collected, and to have that data removed. The American Civil Liberties Union of California, the ACLU, and the Consumer Federation of California have come out against Prop 24. Opponents say Prop 24 allows pay-for-privacy schemes and makes workers wait years to learn what confidential information their employers have collected on them.
What Proposition 24 is doing is basically expanding the ability for paying for privacy schemes to rise in the US. And what this means is you are in an exchange with your service provider when you're online. So now these online service providers can say, if you give me your information, I'll give you a discount. If you opt out of giving me information, you're not eligible for this discount. And that's really terrible. It's probably the most American thing that we could possibly do. Hey, we're gonna collect all of your data, and then we're gonna ask you to miss out on really awesome stuff if you don't continue to give us your data, because now the government is ordering us to have to comply with all of these various sanctions. So it eased up the tightness around these data collecting organizations, which is terrible, because now think about socioeconomic differences and what paying for privacy can mean for the future, and how it specifically affects marginalized communities who historically come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what to do, but I really do recommend that you find the right resources. If you go to ballotpedia.com, type in your state, you'll be able to understand more, and there are some pretty great summaries to break down and describe to you exactly what to expect and give you some more information of how to make this decision. With that being said, let's move on to Michigan and what's happening on their ballots. I have a really, really special place in my heart for Michigan. My husband was living there when we were just dating, and I lived there for about a year before we just recently moved back to New York. Actually, the first whole season of SPBS 1 was shot in Michigan. Anyway, so this is really important to all of my Michiganders, and I happen to be in Michigan colors today. But anyway, on your Michigan ballot, there is a proposed amendment that basically is asking people whether or not they think a search warrant is necessary for the government or law enforcement to access your data.
In November, Michigan voters will decide if police will be banned from accessing electronic data without a search warrant. The resolution passed through the State House and the Senate 2 weeks ago. Missouri and New Hampshire passed similar legislation, garnering over 75% in voter support.
It specifically says this amendment would prohibit unreasonable searches and seizures of your data and would require a search warrant to access the same way people need search warrants to get into your house. And why is this so crucial? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. Well, I hope it seems like a no-brainer that everybody marks yes for this. But in Michigan, there is a huge fight against racial surveillance that's happening today. And today, Michigan has absolutely no state-level data protection laws that exist, giving the government and law enforcement full reign to implement whatever surveillance strategies that they see fit, to the point where they're putting an amendment or asking us at least to vote on an amendment whether or not it's ethical for law enforcement to search your phones and take your data without a warrant. Between California and Michigan, right, as far as advice or anything that I can tell you to do, at the end of the day, I can't. Of course, do I want to influence your opinions because of my personal biases? Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just here to give you the facts. And with California, it's a bit more difficult to really steer you in one direction or another. CCPA is great. Proposition 24, it's a little problematic. And then you look at Michigan, it's a bit more cut and dry from the aspect of, hey, do you need a search warrant to go through my phone and take my data and information? I think yes. And if you think no, that's a little weird. It's a little weird. And you might be on some shit that I don't with. I hope this was helpful. I hope everybody takes the time to vote this year. And I hope that you are thinking before you are sharing and consciously clicking as you go. Thank you so much. Meet me here, same time, same place, next week, where we're going to debunk election security myths and talk about voter fraud. I'm Taz, and this is Security, Privacy, and a lot of other bullshit. The proposed amendment